Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the final day of Coalesce. My name is Kelly Hata. I'm a sales director covering APAC for DBT Labs. I'm thrilled to be hosting this session with Chris Jenkins, sharing the knowledge, joining DBT in the business using Tāngata. Chris leads the data management team at Trustpower and talks about DBT a lot. Let's be honest, I think we can attribute almost all of the DBT fanfare in New Zealand to the combined efforts of Chris and Marcel. I met Chris a few years ago when I was at Snowflake, and his breadth of personal and professional interests really never failed to amaze me. He spends his spare time writing rap lyrics for corporate events, writing C++ enhanced YAML to automate his smart home, and even ran for political office. Before we start, here's how to make the most out of this session. All the chat is taking place in the Coalesce Tāngata channel of DBT Slack. Chris, could you have picked an easier word to pronounce? Anyway, if you're not yet part of the Slack community, you still have time to join. Just head over to community.getdbt.com and sign up. Once you're in, take a minute to set up the Slack chat next to your browser, because this isn't just for asking questions. You can add comments, you can share memes, throw emojis in, just have fun with it. When the presentation wraps up, Chris will be available in the channel to answer your questions. And Lee, our chat champion, has already kicked us off with an icebreaker, so make sure you enter your answer in that thread. Okay, let's get started. The stage is all yours, Chris.
Thank you, and thanks, Kelly. It's actually a shame it started because I was really enjoying the Slack conversation. If you're not in there already, jump in. So I'm Chris. I'm a data guy and really stoked to be able to share here. It's our third year, so I am a DBT 0.14 class. But today I wanted to talk about how we join the business together with awesome stuff that we make in DBT. Before I jump in, a bit of an intro to me. I've had, sorry, one moment. I can't see my next slide. I've had two major events in the last year that deeply impacted this slide deck and the presentation in general. The first was I got married in March. Now that's a bit of a weird thing to kind of intro a work-related event with, but it makes sense in a moment. The other event that happened this year, my LinkedIn connections passed my Facebook friends in number. Now these two events critically intertwined because the result of those events has been you get to see my honeymoon photos. So it is going to tie in throughout. Every photo here is mine. This is taken on the Franz Josef Glacier on the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. I don't know if I mentioned that, I'm a Kiwi. I live in Tauranga, so up the east coast, about 3 hours south. So anything you see that's in a honeymoon photo, it's pretty hard to get here at the moment with closed borders. There is one way to get here. Come and work with us, just do it. So, Tāngata, this is a hard word to say. For context, this comes from Te Reo, the Māori language, from the original people of New Zealand. And this is something that over the last 20 years, in particular, the younger generation have really started to be invited by the Māori to come in and, hey, actually, this language is something that's important. There's meaning here that is really important to actually grow throughout the New Zealand culture. And this word is most commonly recognised in a particular phrase or a proverb, a Māori proverb. And the proverb goes, if the heart of the harakiki was removed, the harakiki is a flax plant. So if the heart of the harakiki was removed, where would the bellbird sing? If you were to ask me what is the most important thing in all the world, I would be compelled to reply, it is people, it is people, it is people. He Tāngata, he Tāngata, he Tāngata. But that doesn't quite cover it. See, Tāngata is not just about people. We've got this very simple Western concept of, hey, it's you over there. But Tāngata actually talks about a much deeper concept. So when I describe your Tāngata, it's you and your generational group that comes before and comes after you. So it's not just you and I that are Tāngata, it's everyone that you do business with, everyone that you provide for inside your organization. It's your family at home, it's your other groups that you're involved with, it's your family. So Tāngata is a much, much deeper concept than that. This is one of my favorite places and times on the planet. Now, in Tauranga, we have a famous beach called Mount Maunganui. And every year in April, we get up at about 5 in the morning and show up on this beach around a cenotaph. And it's this big pillar right here. And we stand together in different places right across the country and right New Zealand and Australia to remember Anzac Day. Anzac Day celebrates the people who came before us that gave their lives for what they believed in the country that they believed should be a thing. They wanted to keep New Zealand going, and Australia, obviously. So when they showed up to war, they weren't thinking of, how do I protect this for myself? Because you don't go and die for that. That's not how that goes. They showed up for their tangata. They showed up for everyone that they cared about. That was what they were showing up there for. And down on this beautiful beach, this was about 6 in the morning, we've got 3,000 people that showed up to remember what these people did. We are the descendants of these people that stood up and said, hey, we don't want to do life the way that it's going to be put on us unless we do something about it. And this is the deep connection between something much more deep than, hey, it's people. It's actually it's that global concept that really resonated with me. The more I dived in to this one word, the deeper it became. So what's this got to do with data? So we're data people. We take things out of the different systems that run across our businesses and we make it useful and turn it into information that we can make decisions on. And these guys coming up on the screen, they're actually coming for our jobs a little bit, because I've been in data a few years, not a long time, not the decades many that are here will have been, but back in the day, that stuff on the left of there, that used to be really hard. We had to connect up, extract this data from Oracle, create the data types in DDL for the place that you want it to go to, pull together the different lines of transformation, whatever tool set you're in, and then make sure all of these are run in the right order to actually make the data arrive properly. And that doesn't have to be done by people anymore. On the other side, it took a long time in Excel to do what you can do in one of these tools in a couple of minutes. It took a really long time. Before that, on pen and paper, that just took actual years. It would have taken years to track some of the things that we can drag and just get done very quickly. You look back at the massive achievements that humankind has made, the complexity of something like the Enigma machine, and think I could probably solve that with my phone without any stress at all. And these things are just making our lives really easy. So they're putting us out of a bit of work. So what do the people do? Now, I've been really curious about that question for a few years now. In the future, computers should be able to figure out most of computers' problems. So where is actual human value needed to be able to create something in what we do? Are we going to get to a future where we've got part of something, but we're trying to do it the old way? I spent a bit of time when I first got this cool job as a data and information manager. I came from an analytics team, so I wanted to learn all of the history and understand the theory and the reasons why things are the way they are. And I read a lot of Kimball, and I read a lot of Linstead and these sort of approaches. And there's some really solid value in there. I've never thought so much about the flight industry as I did while reading those books. It's a great example, actually, that they use with planes and airports and things like that. It's something everyone understands. But through reading those, I started on an approach that it started to get us somewhere, but it took a long time because it's trying to build a gold standard outcome from day one. And in the DBT world, we actually get to iterate. We get to do something and then build it out some more and then build it out some more. That's what gets me really excited in the DBT space. I'm going off track. But if we turn up to the future and everything we do looks like the way we did it in the past, whether it's the way that we design our data models, whether it's the way that we interact and design things, or whether it's the way that we record information about our stuff, that metadata. If we show up looking like this, then we might not get everything done that we might be capable of, because all of our time's being freed up by these tools that are just making life so much easier to get more done on the sides. We need to optimize the middle too. And that is where humans are needed. Humans provide context. So being a data guy, and I'm sure everyone listening will probably relate to this idea. When people ask, what do you do? I've got a way of simplifying it. Because no, I could probably fix your wireless for you, let's be honest. I could probably fix get rid of the virus on your computer from wherever you've been on the internet. But that's not what I do. If somebody asks me, I have to have a simple way of explaining it. And the way I explain it is, my team takes data from all of the systems that know stuff about my company, and we translate it from what those systems know and turn it into something that we can learn from as an organization. So in the simplest way, we're translators. We're providing context to things that the system's given us, and we're translating from system language to, in my case, Trustpower language. And these are things like customers and services that we deeply care about inside of our organization. But the systems that we get it from don't necessarily call it that, or they call it different things between them. And this is where the humans come. I took this photo of the honeymoon. Bit of a weird photo to come across in New Zealand. I know some people won't be as familiar with the country, but we're not famous for our orangutan population. We're a little too temperate for them to enjoy themselves as much as they might in Borneo or somewhere like that. What could we learn about this? How do we place it in Chris's honeymoon throughout the South Island? We found some information. Here's the metadata from this photo that I've saved on holiday. Tells us when. It's great. Got the timestamp sorted. Name's not going to help us much other than confirming the timestamp's correct. You see what phone I took it on, with some details there. So if you wanted to replicate it, you've got some of the details you'd need. And we've got a piece of information there that this was taken in Hanmer Springs in Canterbury. Now, this is quite a famous place for the hot. People come from all over the world to visit Hanmer and to go and swim in the many different mineral hot pools they have an option of the different springs that the water comes from. One is more alkali, one is more acidic. And that doesn't help us answer the question about the orangutan. So we need some context from a human. Here's our context. So this was taken at Hanmer Heritage Forest Trust. It has 4.8 stars on Google Maps, and Wendy tells us amazing sculptures. So this tells us these are sculptures, it's not a real orangutan. If you'd looked really closely, you probably knew that, but you still don't know why it's there. So we've taken the base information, we've got a photo of an orangutan, we've got the metadata, where did it come from, and then we've got the human context that actually makes this useful. And this has made it a story that actually makes sense. It's been translated from system into human language. Here's a story without metadata. These photos are part of one story. I'll give you a moment before I tie them together for you. The photo on the left was taken, and this is one of my favorite places actually. We drove from Dunedin down on the east coast of South Island. We drove right down to the southernmost tip of the South Island. This isn't visited quite so often. We drove about 8 hours that day. It was a very long drive and ended up at the end of our day in Queenstown. So Slope Point is a place where not much grows, as you see in the photo. It's the southernmost tip. All you've got is basically Antarctica if you keep on going south from here. And the wind comes in and the waves come up, and it's just the strength of the elements in this place is amazing. So we drove way out of our way to visit this place that I just wanted to see. From there, we drove right up through the middle of Southland and ended at Queenstown at the end of the day. We stayed at the Hilton. Fortunately, no international visitors are allowed in New Zealand at the moment. So we got a great room at a much lower rate than we would normally get. And they greeted us, they knew it was our honeymoon, so there's this bottle of wine on the table. And I sat down to read the card that they'd given us, and I saw my shoe, and I had walked into the Hilton Hotel with sheep poo on my shoe without noticing until I'd tracked it across the room. So these three photos together tell a story that this is one picture. I've given you the context. This is the story of my day and how I felt in that moment as I was standing in the left-hand basin of this beautiful bathroom, 3 times the size of the room that I'm in, washing the poo off my shoe in the basin. And that feeling is something that I could only tell through these pictures. One more piece of context. We've got at Slope Point again here. This sign points to where we are. It tells us the equator's that way. Oh, you're facing the wrong way from me. South Pole's that way. It tells us where exactly we are. It tells us the metadata of this information. We are at 46 hours, 40 minutes, 40 seconds. I think that's how that works. Now, I actually searched this, found out a little more about this particular location, and those coordinates actually give the directions to about 250 meters offshore. So just a brief note that even if you get great metadata, you probably should still check it. Now, the other point here is there's no point doing something over and over if it's done before. So talking about context, there's no point everyone doing the same thing. This is a tree in Wanaka, which is visited by tens of thousands of people. And all of these people are repeating exactly the same thing as they walk along the stony beach to take a photo of this very picturesque place. So in data, finding ways to capture something once and then replicate it to everyone. that's how we actually generate value that lasts. So that once someone takes the perfect photo of this tree and he titles it with Comic Sans and a hashtag, this should be the only time that we need to document this piece of information. And if somebody needs to change it, they come back and change it here. Maybe any better font. So how do we do that with data? We need a place that we can record it, keep on building on top of the shoulders of people that have come before us, the Tāngata that has come together to make this thing happen. This is my favorite picture. I don't have a story for this one. So Tāngata, I have made a thing basically. So I spent my evenings early in this year, about 200 hours. I learned Node to write this. I learned React to write this. And I've built a catalog that can do some cool stuff that I want to show. This is essentially DBT docs. The intention of this is to not replace DBT docs. I'm not wanting to sell this tool, I'm not wanting to get anything out of it, but I want to demonstrate what we do if we actually let people work together to take that perfect photo and share it rather than tens of thousands of people going back to the same place to try and find information. Now, YAML's scary. If you open up a YAML file, if you give that to a business owner to say, hey, can you document these sources that we got from somewhere? That's going to be hard for them. But if you get them to come in here and click around a little bit, and then that's just straight away available in the repository that you're working in, then you're actually enabling people who might not engage with data anyway to start to get engaged, to start to do stuff. Every data catalog, I think, should do this and write back to DBT. And I wrote this actually to show up the people who aren't doing that at the moment, because I like to prove things can be possible. So when you do stuff like this, you should just be able to click around and not have to worry about whether it's found the right thing, found the right file, am I in the right place, have I doubled something up somewhere? You should just be able to click around and just figure your way through, and it should just generally make sense. Like this. That's how you should be able to capture metadata. It shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't look like this thing on the left. For someone in the business that's describing a source, or even for a data analyst who knows YAML but wants to work a bit faster, you should just be able to do this stuff. A couple of other things in here I wrote that I think are cool. We've got some auto tag stuff here to do that. You can see our promoted models in the start. We've got some demoted models. So when we search for customer, it's going to put them to the bottom of the list. This is all available if you pip install Tāngata. Pip doesn't support the macron on top of the A, so it's just T-A-N-G-A-T-A. Or jump into GitHub Tāngata_local. You can just jump and have a look. It's not great. It works. It's a little bit buggy. I haven't done my unit test yet. But I really want to show, actually, guys, this is something that, this is how we should interact with our stakeholders. We're not all engineers. Not all data people are engineers. Not all data people can get into a text editor with a black background and feel comfortable. But the more as an industry and as a collective community inside DBT, the more we get to stuff like this, the better place we'll end up. And that's about all I have to say, except for where to from here. Steal my code, build some stuff, contribute. I haven't got as much free time, so I'm not moving this heavily, but I do have time to build some and to actually start to, as a community, say, hey, let's make this a thing. Let's let our business stakeholders get in and mess with our stuff and we trust them. That's the way we should be interacting with our businesses rather than owning it all in IT, and if you need to change that, we'll need a job. if we can start taking a step that way towards the equator, it's going to be a much nicer place to be than with the waves coming up and the wind in your face, as this particular spot was. One last piece for context. See if you can figure out the context of this photo. And if you want a screenshot, here's the DBT logo. So I didn't ask them about this. It's me done.
Amazing, Chris. That was great. The chat is going off. I think you made Drew's brain explode during your demo. We have a couple of minutes, so I might ask a couple of questions if that's okay. Looks like they're mine. So I'll ask one that I just put in the chat, and it's one that I probably should know, but is this being used in production at Trustpower right now? And could you give us a sense of what the uptake was like? Were there any hurdles getting your less technical folks to jump in, or was it pretty seamless?
Yeah, I'm not currently in production at Trustpower. There are others using it somewhat. This is genuinely a proof of concept of, hey, here's this thing. I put it out into the ether. It runs, it doesn't fall over. And I do intend to use it here, but I'm careful to keep my open source work as the things that I control very separately from the business hours, just at the moment. That's just how I've run this thing so far. I have used it here, but I haven't rolled it out.
Makes sense. I'm sure we have a few folks who would be good candidates for testing it out, so we can chat. And then the other one that I threw in here was, how do you determine the right level of context to give your users without overwhelming them? Do you have any tips or tricks that you've learned when approaching that problem at Trustpower?
So in reality, everyone's got a different level of comfort. I've designed this as probably to a bunch of people's level of comfort. They've seen a tool that you can mess around with before. If you click in a field, you can change it, just like Salesforce. We've used that before. It's not scary. So it really does depend who you're working with. Most of my customers internally are SQL writing analysts, and they're not necessarily in code, in Git, full-on CI/CD pipelines, everything they do. We're moving in that direction, but they don't know YAML files well. So for my customers, that's one group. Another group is the people who know the sources really well, and they're good at databases, but they haven't learned YAML either. So if we want to get a good documentation of sources, having that interface for them to jump in and actually use is the easiest way. Right now, we're sending them a field list and getting a list of descriptions back. It would be really easy, much easier if we just gave them an interface for that.
Right. Makes sense. Oh, I forgot one at the very beginning from Amy was, are you going to be sharing any of your rap lyrics with us in the chat afterwards? You're the one who gave me that fun fact.
Yes. So when I joined Trustpower, I was in the telesales team. And so I've worked from frontline sales, selling phone and internet service, right up to now I'm running a data team. Not quite sure how that happened. But in those early days, sales teams need energy, right? They need things to build team energy, build morale, because you're going to have people that say no to you. And it's not very nice when people say no to you. So having people alongside you that you really like, that you're energized by, and is great. There was a particular event that I ended up writing a rap lyric for, and it kind of grew into performing in front of about 1,000 people at the end of year organization event. I wrote one for my political campaign last year, which kind of went, yeah, that's not one I'd share here. This is very slanted, obviously, given context. But yeah, it's just been a thing. I haven't really got anything that's not slanted either towards Trustpower specifically or the politics side, though. So I can't really, sorry.
No, that's all right. I wish I knew about this earlier, but maybe next time at Coalesce, we'll We'll definitely have to perform something for us. Awesome. We're just at time. But if you have any more questions, please enter them into the chat. Looks like there's a couple in there, Chris. So if you can hang around and answer those, that'd be great. But
Awesome.
thanks so much for sharing your story. As always, great to hear it, and loved every moment, and every photo made me very jealous. And I can't wait till we can get to New Zealand again.
Cool. Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Yeah.